help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
This segment of the Paul Harrell program brought to you by the great folks at Patriots of Act 746, an 11,000-member strong Facebook group trying to educate Arkansans about your gun rights, the Second Amendment, and specifically constitutional carry and Act 746 right here in Arkansas. Hey, joining us now to talk a little bit more about this and some enhanced carry news, we have Mr. Bob Bailey is with us. Bob, welcome to the Paul Harrell program, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You're from Russellville, right?
I am.
All right. So we're always glad to have somebody from Russellville calling, and hopefully the folks are listening in the River Valley on 610 AM, 101.3 FM Carve out of Russellville. As well as online. So Bob, tell us, first of all, a little bit about the Patriots of Act 746. How did you come to find this group?
I have been a gun instructor since 2000, and I found them on Facebook, and I just started paying attention to them and kind of getting educated, and became friends with one of the founders, Gary Epperson, and that's pretty much how I realized what was going on.
Yeah. So I mean, what have you learned, since joining the group? I mean, were you shocked to understand, what Act 746 really means in terms of Second Amendment rights?
I was shocked that they were putting out information that I hadn't been seeing anywhere else.
Yeah.
Me being an instructor since the year 2000, I kind of tend to pay attention to gun right issues of any sort. And what I was hearing from this group was unlike what I was hearing from any other group.
Mm-hmm.
So the more I got to looking at it and reading into it, the more I'm like, wow, here's something that's for the good of the people that nobody's hearing about other than on Facebook.
Yeah. So you are, I mean, that's what they do. They're great at that. But you're a concealed carry instructor. You just mentioned that. And you guys, from what I'm hearing, now correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of feels like y'all are about to be put through the ringer with this new enhanced carry stuff and all these new, regulations and the red tape you got to go through if you want to teach that class. What can you tell us about, the information that you're getting concerning the new law, the new level of carry here in Arkansas?
Well, the one thing that concerns a lot of us is we weren't really given the option to decide to train or not. They're basically coming out saying you have from January to March to train, and they want us to be able to offer a class. And if you don't do that, you will cease to be an instructor. No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Hang on. Okay, let's stop right there. So that means if you just wanted to continue offering the regular the regular carry license that you don't really need, but if you wanted it maybe for reciprocity and things like that, but if you just want to keep doing that, they're saying you can't do that anymore.
They're saying that you have to take this enhanced instruction to be able to offer it to your students. Whether you do or not, it doesn't really matter. They're saying you've got to go through this training or you will cease to be an instructor.
Wow.
That is an issue that has a lot of instructors up in arms.
So what kind of training are we talking about here? And, I mean, I've been told some people are just going to quit. And that would mean, less training. out there?
I'm hearing a lot of that. It's going to be enough of a hassle for some people that they're just going to say, hey, the heck with this. It's not worth it to me. I'm done. I'm a little bit on the fence about that myself. Right now, as instructors, nobody that I know of has gotten any kind of guidance from the state police. We just know that it's coming. What I read was sent to me by a local police chief that basically was several pages long. It outlined the training criteria, which is basically some of the older police.
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
The state of Arkansas is corrupt. That's what I can tell you today. The state of Arkansas is corrupt, and we only need to look at the actions that are now in the news that appear to be evidence of a cover-up, evidence of trying to protect more politicians from taking the fall because of kickback schemes, whether they start with general improvement funds and lead to Medicaid companies, or if it goes deeper than that, I don't know. But I can tell you, based on reports from today in the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Arkansas is corrupt. We have a lot of work to do. It is extremely hard to expose what is really going on. And even when the FBI is investigating, we have people who are trying their best to cover the tracks. And apparently, it is apparent to me in the reports that that is exactly what is happening here in our own state. Let me give you the news. Doug Thompson with a bombshell report. Attorney that's advising the legislative staff, even preparing them for trial in the John Woods public corruption case, is linked to a company in the very kickback case that the FBI is investigating. So the attorney that the Bureau of Legislative Research is using to try to handle and comply with FBI requests for documents also represents the head of a massive healthcare conglomerate. That's the news today. And it gets even better. The money being used to hire said attorney for the Bureau of Legislative Research is your money. So it is your $60,000, which we told you about on Monday, that's being used to advise the BLR on how to respond to FBI requests for documents. And in those stories on Monday, it said that the Bureau of Legislative Research, 3 or 4 of the employees were scheduled to testify in the John Woods corruption trial. Well, they're getting the witnesses ready for the corruption trial. This is unbelievable to me. This is a statewide disgrace. It is a statewide embarrassment, and I could barely get through the entire story without just boiling inside, because this is deceitful. This is wrong. This you just can't even have the appearance of this level of cover-up. This is so blatant, and the Legislative Council that approved this move by the BLR ought to be ashamed of themselves. and if they didn't know, they should do their best to remedy it now. The woman that you see on the screen, her name is Jane Duke. She's an attorney from a law firm, Mitchell Williams, who is representing the Bureau of Legislative Research as part of the FBI investigation and requests for records. She previously also represents Tom Goss, also represented AmeriWorks in July through August of 2016. Now, AmeriWorks, you'll remember that name because that was the document where we were, when we first read Micah Neal. When Micah Neal came out and he pled guilty in the kickback scheme, there was all kinds of stuff, okay? All kinds of companies, and you have to follow the trail here. There was person A and person B and person C, and at first we didn't know who these people were. Slowly but surely we figured it all out. So she represented AmeriWorks from July through August of 2016. Now, this is a company that is of importance in an FBI investigation. Why are you also, why do people think it's also okay for you to represent the Bureau of Legislative Research in responding to, it's like we're getting everybody under the same legal umbrella of protectionism. With taxpayer dollars, by the way. So she represents AmeriWorks in July through August of 2016 while being subpoenaed for records then under Tom Goss's control. Now, who is Tom Goss? Tom Goss, just leave the headline up there, Joe. I'm doing my own thing here. Tom Goss is the chief financial officer for Preferred Family Healthcare. They merged with Alternative Opportunities. Tom Goss is the co-founder of Alternative Opportunities, which was taken over by Preferred Family Healthcare in 2015. Tom Goss's wife is named Bontia. Is that how you say it? Bontia Goss. She is the chief operating officer for Preferred Family Healthcare, co-founder of Alternative Opportunities, which was taken over by Preferred Family Healthcare in 2015. The next person that's in this report, you need to know who it is, Carolyn Nolan. Carolyn Nolan is the principal incorporator of Alternative Opportunities with the Gosses, member of senior management team of Preferred Family, formerly the chief executive officer of Alternative Opportunities. So, Alternative Opportunities, which is now Preferred Family, company subsidiaries received more state general improvement funds. So this is the part that I have left out until now, okay? The companies involved here that are involved with this attorney, Jane Duke, let's see her photo again. Jane Duke, okay, she represented companies that got more general improvement fund money since 2013 than any other company. Okay? Think about this. Alternative Opportunities, this company she's connected to, this attorney, the same one now representing BLR, Bureau of Legislative Research, the legislators' attorneys, those company subsidiaries received more state general improvement fund money from Arkansas legislators since 2013 than any other entity in the state. And two of those grants, $400,000, are the basis for the John Woods kickback scandal. Because Rusty Cranford, I believe, gave the money back because they were so worried about it. Kickbacks were paid by then Director of Alternative Opportunities in 2013, according to court records. The name registered under the company umbrella, Day Spring Behavioral Health Services. Rusty Cranford was an employee when Alternative Opportunities formed. Rusty Cranford is determined to be person B or something when we found out about the Micah Neal stuff when we were reading those documents. Also contracted with Cranford Coalition for, quote, government relations services for many years. You also have Decision Point, Health Resources of Arkansas, Wilbur D. Mills Treatment Center. You have three principal incorporators listed: Bontia Goss, Tom Goss, Marilyn Nolan. The address used for incorporation is in Springfield, Missouri. That address is now an administrative office of Preferred Family, according to its website. Preferred Family and Alternative Opportunities, again, merged in 2015 and became Preferred Family. The Bureau of Legislative Research. This is where it gets interesting. You read in this article. We're going to get to it here in a minute. The Bureau of Legislative Research Director Marty Garrity knew that Jane Duke represented Goss. In order to restore any credibility here, something has got to be different. Something has got to change here. This is unbelievable to me. The head of the BLR, Marty Garrity, knew that Jane Duke represented Goss. This is incredible. And we've paid them $60,000 since June 13th of this year, which is taxpayer money. Director Marty Garrity confirms they were told about Goss, and they hired him anyway. Jane Duke's firm is also helping prepare the Bureau of Legislative Research staff for testimony in the trial. The Legislative Council approved the contract, and Senator Bill Sample, the chair of the Arkansas Legislative Council, is quoted in this story you see before you as saying, quote, "As long as they're happy, I'm happy," he said of the Bureau. I want to go into the background here in a minute. Let's start at the top of this story, though, because Doug Thompson, again, has done an incredible job here. Little Rock attorney Jane Duke is advising Arkansas legislator staff on how to respond to demands for records made by federal investigators. She also represents a top official in a company connected to an ongoing federal investigation into kickbacks. That's all you need to know about how egregious this is. But the companies in question, again, they have been given more General Improvement Fund money since 2013 than any other company, and this just happens to be an FBI investigation into General Improvement Fund fraud. Kenneth Elser, the acting U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Arkansas, confirmed the ongoing investigation in a court hearing back in May. Less than a month later, the Arkansas Bureau of Legislative Research retained Duke and her firm of Mitchell Williams Seelig, Gates, and Woodyard to advise them on how to comply with requests by federal investigators for legislative documents. Duke, a former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas, said in February and confirmed this week she also represents Tom Goss of Springfield, Missouri, chief financial officer for Preferred Family Healthcare. Goss's wife, Bontia, is the company's chief operating officer. The two were also founders of Alternative Opportunities in Arkansas, which Preferred Family took over in 2015. Subsidiaries of Alternative Opportunities received more state General Improvement Fund grant money from Arkansas legislators since 2013 than any other entity in the state. Again, do we not see how embarrassing this is? This is what she says, though. There is no conflict of interest between our representation of Tom Goss and our representation of the Bureau of Legislative Research. You know what? If you say something, it'd be nice. You say anything and speak it into reality, but you can't do that, okay? All right? Only person that can speak substance is God himself, all right? You can't just say there's no conflict of interest and it be true. You can't just say that. You can't just, I know you wish you could speak substance. I know you wish you could just speak nonsense and make it reality, but you can't. Okay? But she goes on. Neither had dealings with the other. Okay, this isn't about the two entities having, this is about you. This is about you having knowledge and trying to play interference here. To help your client. That's what this is about. Something tells me as an attorney, come on, you know what the implications and the accusations are here, and the obvious problems that somebody would have with you representing both entities, right? Maybe there's really not a conflict of interest. Maybe the Bureau of Legislative Research is just so on the side of corrupt legislators, so there's really not a conflict of interest. You don't understand. The Bureau of Legislative Research doesn't want these corrupt people going to jail, and neither do I. So there is no conflict of interest. Give me a break. Invoices for services. Let's skip on down here. Okay, the Legislative Council. Go to this part, Joe. The Legislative Council, a body of lawmakers overseeing government operations when the legislature is out of session, approved hiring Duke's law firm. Senator Bill Sample, a Republican from Hot Springs and council chairman, said he spoke with Garrity, the head of the Bureau of Legislative Research, on Tuesday and was satisfied with the representation Duke and her firm provided. He said he didn't see any conflict of interest. Okay, so now we've got two people who are completely detached from reality. We've got a senator, a Republican named Bill Sample, who also says, I don't see any conflict of interest. Are you kidding me? I guarantee, you know what? If he really believes that, I guarantee you he hasn't read any affidavit. I guarantee he hasn't read any indictment. I bet he hadn't read any of it. You'd be surprised how many people have not read indictments of their own colleagues. That just like sat down and read all the way through it to try to get a handle on what maybe they shouldn't do in the future. You'd be surprised how many have never actually sat down and read official government documents. I mean, they don't read the bills either that they vote for or against. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get a phone call, tell you how to vote. Listen to what he says. He said he didn't see a conflict of interest. Quote, as long as they're happy, I'm happy. What an embarrassing statement to make when we're dealing with such serious accusations. The very credibility of many of our elected officials. And as long as the BLR's happy, I'm happy. What about the taxpayers, the money that's being used for this, which is a clear conflict of interest? We're going to pay so that the BLR can hire a law firm that's going to protect and manage the flow of information that may hurt another client? You bet this is a conflict of interest. Specifically when this client has been involved in receiving the general improvement funds that are under investigation? I shouldn't have to keep saying this over and over again. This is crazy. And I'm so upset about it because it's like, do people have no shame? There's nothing you do. Are there no standards at all? It's just... I'm gonna come back here in a minute. We're gonna go over this more. It's a huge story. I just want to applaud Doug Thompson for writing this story. This is a big deal. I hope somebody does something about it. It'd be great to get a statement from the governor saying how egregious this is. That we got to have some sort of confidence in the process. It'd be great to have legislators come out and talk about how egregious this is. And for Senator Bill Sample to just say, well, if they're happy, I'm happy. Come on, man. This is a conflict of interest. This is an FBI investigation. And I wonder what the FBI is thinking with all of this. I mean, they're probably thinking that Arkansas is essentially Cook County, Illinois. We got to take a break. Back in a minute.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media.
If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
In a world full of constituents with social media accounts, bloggers just looking to increase their page views, and a talk radio host who generally is just the worst, how are Little Rock's elite supposed to conduct business with such a lack of privacy? Introducing the 1835 Club, older and more refined than other clubs that claim discretion. The 1835 Club is for seasoned political veterans that want to conduct the highest form of aristocratic business with the public's money. Are you a schemer? Do you someday want a guaranteed flow of taxpayer money to support your business? Is it your dream to see the .gov domain at the end of your business website? Don't listen to the imitators. The 1835 Club is the place where corrupt politicians and businessmen hatch their next crony schemes. At the 1835 Club, we make lobbying safe and legal.
Ethics.
Why, of course. All business is done in an ethical manner. Just look for the sign above the door that reads, loophole. Are you tired of the Capitol Police restricting your access to the roof after a perfectly good night of drinking? The 1835 Club has libations and a perfectly good roof. Other crony clubs that promise discretion try to lure you in by advertising bars made out of aeroplanes. Well, at the 1835 Club, instead of an airplane fuselage, we've got a space shuttle. No, not a bar. We've got an actual space shuttle that makes a daily run to the moon so members of the 1835 Club can have some real privacy away from the bloggers and taxpayers. Are you an Arkansas aristocrat? Do you want to be? It's the 1835 Club, and we work tirelessly to make sure the good old boy system remains alive and well. Join today.
Disclaimer. The 1835 Club reserves the right to deny membership to anyone who has principles. Any talk of the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution must be done in jest or, at the very least, with a condescending tone. And finally, the 1835 Club will be given a 25% commission of any agreements made between politicians and the business community.
PHP Parody.
All right, folks, welcome back. Sorry, just getting our coverage of this is kind of developed a frenzy here. I've got another piece to this puzzle. Just got a tip, and we're going to try to sort it out and actually just use the internet, to talk about actually, former government officials who are actually working for Preferred Families, which is this company now that's it's all actually making a lot more sense. I mean, this thing is deep. That's why I opened the show by telling you that Arkansas is corrupt. And we know that now because of the links that they're going to try to protect the public from finding out something. You don't, and the reason I say this is so blatantly a conflict of interest. You wouldn't do this unless you were desperately trying to cover the truth up about this. For those of you who don't know and you're just joining us, okay, Little Rock attorney Jane Duke is advising the Arkansas legislature's staff on how to respond to demands for records made by federal investigators. She also represents a top official in a company connected to an ongoing federal investigation into kickbacks received by state lawmakers, a conglomerate of companies that have received since 2013 more general improvement fund taxpayer funds than any other entity in the state of Arkansas. That attorney is now helping the Bureau of Legislative Research respond to federal requests for documents in their investigation of a general improvement fraud case. More on this in a minute.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
These training courses that police used to have to go through. And the issues that I'm having with this is, if you're the kind of guy that hadn't practiced with your gun, I'd see a lot of people during the recalls that hadn't shot since 5 years ago. I mean, that's the reality. If you're one of those people that shoots very little, you're probably not going to be able to pass this course.
Wow.
If let's say you're an elderly person and you have arthritis in your hands, or you have bad knees, or you have bad shoulders, you're one of the people that need a gun the most to protect yourself. You don't have the physical ability to whoop somebody off of you. These are the people that's going to be affected the most by this. And from what I'm reading and seeing, and I had discussed this with several other instructors, we don't really see any benefit to this enhanced training whatsoever. Most of your universities have been given the options to opt out if they want to opt out of it, which means all they have to do is provide a security plan and say, hey, we don't want guns on our campus. So that goes away.
Yeah, and let's stop there for a second. That's ridiculous. The whole point of this bill, before everybody started worrying about making Asa look bad because he didn't support it and he didn't want to have to face the college presidents, this was only about colleges. Before there was a extra qualification and more red tape and a new permission slip, it was only about saying, hey, if you have your concealed carry license and you're a professor, we'd like to allow you to be able to, exercise your right on a college campus. And now it's, okay, well, now the colleges have a loophole where they can just say no. I mean, we're not going to let you do that. And now we have to force current instructors to take the class, or you can't be an instructor at all anymore. It just seems like there's a ton of unintended consequences, or maybe this is all intentional. I mean, you can talk to people that said they had this thing planned for 3 years, and they've always known that they were going to do this and create more regulations, more obstacles to our rights.
Yes, exactly. The problem I have is anytime you let government, whether it's local, federal, any government, it doesn't matter, and once they get their foot in the door on this stuff, what's it going to be like 3 years from now, or 5 years from now, or 20 years from now? I can actually see them saying, hey, you know what? We're just going to do away with the regular license, and now we're going to have everybody have an enhanced.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being with us, 870-275-9799. We're going over this big story by Doug Thompson that has revealed that the attorney that's advising the Bureau of Legislative Research that we covered on Monday and I think a little bit yesterday, I think we talked a little bit with Donnie Copeland about that yesterday, $60,000 to this law firm. Well, the attorney also represents a bunch of healthcare entities that are controlled by Tom Goss, and they are the subject, those companies are the subject of investigating general improvement funds. I mean, it's the most blatant conflict of interest that you can imagine, and the state of Arkansas seems to be okay with it. They okayed this. Government's going to do the best they can to protect the relationships they have with, quote, private, end quote, businesses. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I think it is time to assume worst motives. We are well past trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's now time to assume worst intentions, because this is, I mean, you know, the public corruption trial of John Woods starts in a matter of days, December the 4th. And now this is happening. Now, preferred families. Let me go back to my notes here so that we can go over this. Alternative opportunities, now preferred families. Okay. Alternative opportunities merged in 2015 and became preferred families. At the beginning of this year, a man by the name of Dr. Charlie Green, according to Max Brantley in the Arkansas Times. You see how easy that was, Max? I can cite you. This headline, Director Departs State Behavioral Health Services. And where does this director, Charlie Green, land? According to an automatic response from his email account, Green is going to become the CEO for the Arkansas affiliate of Preferred Family Healthcare Services. Well, that's interesting. I'd like to know, I mean, are there any other... I mean, we talk about the revolving door of lobbyists to government job to politician and all this other stuff. But anyway, must be nice. Must be nice. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, you can take that down, Joe. And let's get to the background here, okay? Let's talk about John Woods for a second, if we're going to continue with this. Because we gotta understand how egregious this really is. John Woods was charged with kickbacks in 2013. He wasn't charged back then, but this all happened in 2013. Nonprofit AmeriWorks, okay, got these kickbacks. Nonprofit AmeriWorks, in exchange for directing $275,000 in general improvement funds to it. So he got a piece of that. Former State Representative Micah Neal pled guilty in January after directing $125,000 to the same company, which described itself as a job training program. Milton Rusty Cranford, a political consultant and lobbyist, identifies himself as statewide director of Alternative Opportunities, the company co-founded by the Goss family, who received the most General Improvement Fund grant money since 2013, who is also represented by the same attorney who is representing the Bureau of Legislative Research and preparing their staff people for testimony in the Woods kickback trial. That's a lot of stuff to take in. It's all one big happy family. They used the name of tax-exempt status of Decision Point to qualify for the AmeriWorks grant and use Decision Point staff to prepare the grant application. The business address used by AmeriWorks throughout the grant application process as the address of Decision Point facility in Springdale. Grant checks were deposited into Decision Point's account. AmeriWorks wasn't formally incorporated until after the grant was approved, according to the Secretary of State records that you can find freely on the Internet. Now, it is important to understand what we are witnessing here is the confirmation that the General Improvement Fund scam / kickback / investigation has 100% now implicated Medicaid entities. Okay, I mean, we knew that then, but we go all the way back to my sources 2.5 months ago that were telling me indictments were imminent, that the FBI had met with Senate leadership to try to tell them how many people are going to get pinched in all of this, and it was to the point where it wasn't just general improvement fund stuff, it was now Medicaid problems. Well, I think we can now understand why somebody like a Senator Brian King tried time and time again to get a transparency in Medicaid, transparency in, if you're making money for Medicaid, you have to disclose it, and they kept shooting that law down over and over and over again, and I think we now know why. And that just lets you know. I mean, I wonder, gosh, there may be a lot of people moving up in seniority. Who knows? Maybe a lot of vacancies on that Arkansas Legislative Council. Senator Brian King claims the amount of Medicaid money. Listen to this. Brian King claims the amount of Medicaid money that alternative opportunities and preferred families received is safely in the millions. Safely in the millions. Kickback money was refunded from a Dayspring Behavioral Health. That was the name. Remember, Dayspring Behavioral Health. The refund. You know whose signature was on the stamp there? Tom Goss. Tom Goss. Yeah. Tom Goss's signature stamp. A letter from Rusty Cranford on Alternative Opportunities Stationery accompanied the check. This is what it said. From 2013 forward, Decision Point and other Goss-affiliated entities received $746,500 of general improvement money. More background on this. Problems in Missouri. Corruption. Tom and Bontia Goss and Marilyn Nolan were recently placed on unpaid administrative leave from Preferred Family, successor to Alternative Opportunities. Former board member David Carl Hayes of Alternative Opportunities pleaded guilty to embezzling almost $2 million from Dayspring. A quite good question would be, did all these people also get money from this embezzlement? That'd be a good question. It'd be a very good question to have the answer to. David Carl Hayes was the head of mergers and acquisitions from 2006 to 2013, right before Alternative Opportunities merged with Preferred Families. Hayes embezzled from Dayspring from January 3rd of 2011 to March 31st of 2014. Preferred Family notified Arkansas DHS about the embezzlement. DHS claims it was not Medicaid money. That's where we stand based on all of this and the new information. So there's your background on it. And again, great job, Doug Thompson, and also great job, the amazing people at Conduit Media for helping me compiling this information for me to give to you, because it is a ton of information, especially when you look at just how deep does this rabbit hole go. I mean, folks. My expectations are actually probably unhealthily high, and the only reason I'm high expectations for whatever it is to make a big impact, and I'm only getting high expectations based on their behavior, the behavior of the law firm, the behavior of the Bureau of Legislative Research, something is bad wrong. It's not just a little bit wrong. This is huge. This is a big deal. And I cannot believe that now that this is being reported on, that there needs to be a massive amount of outrage from elected officials. I don't think this is not something that can be fixed by the outrage of the people, because we don't have an election coming up, right? We have primaries, but that's not until May. This is something that only elected officials are going to be able to try to, I mean, at the very least, just speak out about this. Because this is crazy to me. If you're just joining us, all I got to do is read the first sentence, or the first paragraph of this article by Doug Thompson. Little Rock attorney Jane Duke is advising the Arkansas legislature staff on how to respond to demands for records made by federal investigators. Stop. She's also advising them how to testify in court next month, December the 4th. She also represents a top official in a company connected to an ongoing federal investigation into kickbacks received by state lawmakers. Real question is, I wonder what that legal bill is from Tom Goss, or that goes to Tom Goss. I bet that's a pretty penny. What do you want to bet? Telephone number, call us or text us 870-275-9799. I mean, this is again a bombshell report. Let me know what you think. 870-275-9799. And I say all of this before we go to break here. I want to say one more thing. If you see a value in this program and you see a value in the information that we're bringing to you, consider partnering with us at Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can get an extra video every week of the program and the stuff we talk about. We want to make them better, but we need more Patreon partners. For as little as $5 a month, you can go $10 or $25 a month and get your Liberty Machine t-shirt. But for as little as $5 a month, you can become a Liberty Machine engineer, help us build the Liberty Machine, get a little extra content, and do that. Consider doing that if you see a value in what you've heard here today. It's go to paulharrell.com and click on Get More Content, Get Extra Content, or you can go to patreon.com/thephp. We're going to take a break. Back in just a moment.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media.
This is for all you big government establishment Republicans out there. Hope you're listening. I keep a close watch on these votes of mine. I keep my finger in the wind all the time. I vote big government, and you will pay with your dime. 'Cause every time I toe the line. You know, there's always an excuse not to shrink government. It's much easier just to toe that line. I find it very easy to be rhino blue. I find I'm not alone when failing to come through. Yes, big government, I'm a fool for you. 'Cause every time I toe that line. Legislative sleight of hand would be an accurate description. Or you could just say, they can't quit towing that party line. As sure as night is dark and day is light, I'll vote big government both day and night. And act like I'm shocked when it all comes to light. 'Cause every time I toe the line. You know, the phrase toe the line is the equivalent of toe the mark, both of which mean to conform to a rule or standard. You could also call it the status quo. Tax and spend, I'm always on your side. I love writing government checks that I cannot hide. Buying people's votes always turns the tide. 'Cause every time I toe the line. The Oxford Dictionary word histories. The idiom toe the line, from an athletics analogy, originated in the early 19th century. I hope you don't watch these votes of mine. Hope you don't see through the lies and slime. 'Cause I plan on spending with your dime. 'Cause every time I toe the line. You know, toeing the line is what the folks down in Little Rock call progress.
PHP Parody.
All right, moving on. And we're gonna tell you if there's any more developments on that story. And I was just saying, you know, the issue here is, we have a great story by Doug Thompson, right? It's a great story, and the issue here with the media is they need to consistently cover stuff like this. Don't just let that be the end of it. Let's write another story about it. Let's get another one out there tomorrow and the next day. Right? That's what we've got to do. Or that's what I hope that they do. And again, I want to mention Senator Bill Sample one more time from Hot Springs. He needs to hear from you. Joe, can you throw his contact? This is Senator Bill Sample. This is the guy that approved this attorney who has got a massive conflict of interest. You know, you've been listening to the hour. You know what I'm talking about. Now, this is Bill Sample, okay? And he needs to hear from you in a congenial way, but you need to tell him that this is egregious. And his comments, when confronted with the obvious conflict of interest, his comments are unacceptable. That as long as the BLR's happy, I'm happy? No, sir. That you don't get to say that, okay? And not get some sort of, I don't know, some sort of opinion, you know, obviously for me, but from you guys. I would just encourage you you could email him. For those of you online, but this is unbelievable. Like, why can we not understand this is obviously a conflict of interest, and he's the chair of Arkansas Legislative Council. He could maybe do something about it. Okay, all right, enough of that. So, John Brummett, boy, think of this. We talk about carefully crafted language on this program all the time. Now, that was something that was coined by Asa Hutchinson, right? You can find carefully crafted language a lot of places. And carefully crafted language, in my opinion, is a way to deceive you. That's what it is. Asa coined that term when he said, you know, he was asked a tough question and he didn't want to answer it, so he said, I refer you back to my remarks because that's the key language that was carefully crafted. Well, that speech was about the private option. That speech was about Medicaid expansion, and he wanted to try to make sure that some people thought that he was doing the populist thing and going to end it, and other people thought that we might still have a chance. Of course, we now know that he kept it, and the program is still alive today. And he could have let us out of it, but he didn't want to be a leader. He wanted to just, you know, listen to special interest groups. So that's where carefully crafted language comes from. Now, in this carefully crafted language segment, I want to show you what John Brummett has done. Fairness and Expediency, back on November 26th, he wrote a column called Fairness and Expediency. And in it, he talks about the benefits of progressive income tax. And, you know, he pokes at conservatives saying that the progressive income tax has a conscience, but a sales tax does not have a conscience, and things like that. And it's actually really sad. I mean, I could go point by point and refute it all. But specifically, what he's referring to, the point of his article, is that the Senate tax plan up in Washington, D.C., they're going to attempt to end the individual mandate. Okay? Now, think about this. In light of the fact that he says that there's a conscience, that the progressive income tax has a conscience, right? The sales tax has no conscience. The income tax has one. Okay? And then in light of the fact that at the end of this article, he starts talking about how the best way to enforce the individual mandate is with a fine of noncompliance. And this is at the very end of his article, he says, here are the real questions. Should our income tax system be retained but made simpler? Should health insurance be required of the citizenry? If so, should the government subsidize premiums for low and middle income persons? If so, should the government impose a financial penalty on those not getting health insurance? If so, is the annual income tax return the best place to assign that penalty? For me, it's yes, he writes to that entire paragraph. He goes on. We can and should live both by rules of fairness and rules of expediency. If all those rules serve a functioning government and ensured health care for everyone. This is, in my opinion, ignoring the whole crux of the issue. Fairness and expediency. John Brumman here completely ignores the whole concept of individual freedom, of not owing the government tribute because you're alive. They don't ever want to go down that thing because you say, well, you're alive, but you're in America, and so you owe it to your fellow man. Meaning John Brummett believes at his core that we are born into this world enslaved to one another. That's what he believes because he thinks that the individual mandate in Obamacare is a good thing because it keeps insurance premiums low, which it doesn't. Insurance premiums have continued to go up. People have lost their coverage. And he says, well, if we get rid of it, insurance premiums are going to go through the roof. Well, not if Donald Trump can actually swing this state line stuff and allow people, actually more competition and everything like that. But this article reminded me of something. You know how John Brummett said at the beginning of his piece that the progressive income tax has a conscience. The sales tax doesn't have a conscience. He's very much in favor of the incentive-robbing progressive income tax. And he says, well, how's it incentive-robbing? Well, it's because business owners and investors, it's robbing for them. It's not necessarily as robbing of incentive when we're talking about somebody getting a paycheck working for a boss. Here is what John Brummett said back in 2013. Back in 2013, he sat down with Roby Brock of Talk Business and Politics. Okay? And when he did that, they were talking about the passage of the private option and whether or not it's conservative. And this is what John Brummett said in response to Roby Brock's question. Again, 2013. Listen to this.
And you just have to get these folks to accept that and then be confident that they can convey that to the folks back home who elected them to go to Little Rock mainly and do one thing, stop Obamacare.
Right.
So when they go back and say, couldn't do that, but here's what I did do. It may be counterintuitive, but actually saved you money. That's sort of how that's happened.
We had Speaker of the House, Davy Carter, actually quoted yesterday on the Talk Business website saying that by embracing the private option, you are, in fact, opposing Obamacare.
Whatever they have to say, Roby. I saw Representative Burris yesterday. I said, let's just put up a grandstand out here and gather all the conservatives and let you all say the thing you need to say in order to cast this logical vote. If they say this is actually a rejection of Obamacare, when in fact it imposes Obamacare, I don't care. I want everybody to be happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want everybody to be happy. Kind of echoing Bill Sample. If they're happy, I'm happy. So you really want to talk about terms of conscience. We want to talk about, good grief. Just whatever they have to say. Set up a stand, lie to the people. I don't care. See, in this case, there actually was a thread of honesty there. You had them saying that it wasn't Obamacare. The Republicans were saying this isn't Obamacare, and John Brummett knew that it was. John Brummett knew that it actually was implementing Obamacare, and he was saying whatever the Republicans have to say, It doesn't matter. Whatever the Republicans have to say, they can, lie to their people, and they can say it. So that's who John Brummett is, and that idea of kind of deceiving people there, it goes right in well with the individual mandate of forced cooperation and abandoning individual liberties. It actually fits very well together because it's like, well, the ends justify the means. I know individual freedom is a thing, but we really need everybody to have health insurance. Listen, I know the Republicans campaigned against Obamacare, but really, really need them to go against their word and then lie to the people about it. Back in a minute.
Rush, Glenn, Sean, and Paul. This is Jonesboro's 1013 FM News Talk, KBTM.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
I mean, it's just a matter of time because that's what government does.
You're exactly right. They don't think we're responsible enough as is just to be able to protect ourselves. I mean, Asa Hutchinson, when he puts this thing out on Twitter saying he supports the Second Amendment, no, he called it a privilege, number one. And Asa is only comfortable with you having a gun in a public place so long as you go along with certain things he wants you to. So long as you train, then he's okay with you having the privilege of carrying your gun. And that's really what this, that's the whole problem, is that we got these people in office, they don't even know what the government was created for originally. It was to protect us from, it was to protect our rights. And yet now we have government trying to regulate and take and diminish our rights away. It's the complete opposite of the way things were intended.
Exactly, and it's going to get to the point where you won't be able to afford it. What is your personal definition of nominal?
Nominal, yeah.
Let's say nominal fee. What is a nominal fee to you? How much is a nominal fee?
It's kind of like my grandfather used to say. It's worth whatever somebody's willing. I used to collect baseball cards, and I'd say, oh, gosh, I've got this card, or I got that card. And he would say, that card's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. So, that's the same thing with the nominal fee.
Well, exactly. If you're one of these guys making $30,000 a year, your nominal fee is going to be less than my nominal fee. I make $100,000 a year. You might make $250,000 a year. What's your nominal fee? Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
yep.
They come out, and I don't think it's about rights. I don't think it's about privilege. I think it's about money. To the Arkansas legislature, a nominal fee is $300.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that's not a big deal. To you, that might not be a big deal. But that's not the principle of it. The principle is, if you're at one of these guys with a $30,000 a year job, are you going to be able to afford that?
Yeah.
Is your life worth any less than mine just because you can't pay a nominal fee?
Yeah, and you're exactly right. We're talking with Bob Bailey. You are exactly right, Bob. It really, when you put it like that, they're putting a price on a life. It's just real spooky if you think about it like that.
Let's talk about another unintended consequence. Right now, your concealed carry fees per class. We've got a guy up at Dover that does $35 for a class. Most of the classes here in Russellville are going to run you anywhere from $50 to $100. I know of a couple of guys down in Little Rock that are doing $200 to $250. So you've got a pretty good range of what it's going to cost you just to get a permit. Now, you're requiring these instructors to go to more training. The class is supposed to be another 5 to 8 hours from what I'm seeing. As an instructor, if I'm charging $50 for a class right now that is required by law to take 5 hours, now we're doing a 10 or a 12-hour class. That price is probably at least going to double, if not more. So now you're looking at maybe $150, $200 for a class, plus $300 for the fee. You're looking at $500, and that's a part that's not even been addressed by the legislature. Their nominal fee is $300 for this enhanced license. They hadn't even considered what the instructors are going to have to charge just to cover their time and materials.
They didn't have a clue what they were doing. I think that's what's obvious here.
They didn't have a clue. You're exactly right.
This is what happens when you contort your principles in order to protect a Republican governor who's not a real Republican. This is what happens, because that bill they tried to make, whether you agree with the permission slip or not, but I'm telling you, they tried to make this bill a lot easier and very simple, and the governor said no because he couldn't defend it because he doesn't believe in it. And so then they had all these negotiations, and the governor was still not for it. The governor's nephew wasn't for it. And we have a bill that is not really thought out practically because it was only...
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for being with us. This is hour number 2, the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where we are building a liberty machine. Welcome back to the program. Big picture conservative segment. We have with us once again Senator Scott Flippo. Scott, welcome back, sir.
Paul, thank you. Happy to join y'all this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, you getting excited for the holidays? I mean, it's like my favorite time of year. I love Christmas time.
So, love Christmas, love the holidays, and I'll be honest with you and your listeners. I mean, if you come to my house right now, it looks like the middle of August. You wouldn't know that there's any kind of holiday approaching. But my office is decorated to the tilt. Of course, the Capitol is decorated. But I love the holidays. But unfortunately, my house is not necessarily reflective of that. Although I'm determined to get a tree up here in the next week.
Okay.
And I have my mother and aunts coming up this weekend, so I have it on good authority. By the time they leave on Sunday, I'll be to the 9.
Okay, nice. That's always helpful. I've done Christmas. I had the Christmas lights up maybe a week before Thanksgiving, but I've got some more to put out in the backyard this weekend, so I'm stoked about it.
When you say Christmas lights, Paul, are you like Clark Griswold Christmas lights, or are you just putting a few lights in the bush?
Actually, this year it was more of the Clark Griswolds. I've got these really tall, like pine ferns that I actually really, really like, but they're really tall. They're probably like 15 feet higher than the tallest point of my roof, or 10 feet. And so I had this big pole contraption where I was hanging, trying to hang them and on a ladder, and I about killed myself a few times. And then I realized, Scott, these new lights that you get, right, the ones that are not LEDs, which I don't like, these new lights that you can only hook up 3 strands at a time. If you hook up more than 3 strands, then the fuse in your first set will blow. And I learned that lesson the hard way after several. I was like, what is going on? And so now you got to have more extension cords. You got to have more splitters in order to light your house up. And I'm thinking this has got to be some sort of government regulation where they're trying to just discourage me from putting out lights, because I almost gave up,
Hey, listen, absolutely. I mean, did Obama pass anything that had anything to do with, with Christmas lights and the apparatus that goes into them? Because I can't think of any other rational reason of why it would be so complicated other than government interference. Or, Paul, and I'm not accusing you of anything, maybe the user just didn't have it figured out.
Okay. Well, it very easily could be the user. There's no question. But I did confirm it. It's on the box now that says don't hook up more than 3 strands at a time. So.
Well, that's no fun.
I know. And I'm telling you, it has to be some sort. They were used to. You could hook up like 10 of them, before you had any problems. So.
Yeah, Paul, my dad, now, he would put lights, but they would be into the bushes and the landscaping out front. And, this was like the 30 minutes of hanging the lights or just twisting them around the bushes and trees in the front yard. But we never went to the point of getting on the roof or anything like that. And probably a good idea. I'd be hard-pressed to see my father walking around on the roof and hanging Christmas lights.
Yeah.
He'd make Clark Griswold look like MacGyver. So, probably a good reason that he didn't. But, as we think about Christmas, Paul, I was driving past our courthouse here in Baxter County last night. One of the things that makes me sad is, a nativity scene that was there for eons, for as long as I can remember, and it hadn't been there for the past couple of years. But, what's happening? I mean, I enjoy the holidays and the festivities, but this is the celebration of our, the birth of our Lord and Savior. Mm-hmm. And, it really, kind of strikes a chord with me when I see that, a lot of these atheist organizations, and here in Baxter County was, a atheist group, and they got together and, filed a lawsuit, and the county went to bat and lost, and we had to take down a nativity scene.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, I mean, it is absurd. And so people that think that there is no war on Christmas, I know liberals like to kind of poke fun and say tongue-in-cheek things, like that's just some made-up farce. It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And, I hate it because it's something that in the midst of all the presents and Santa Claus and reindeer, the core of what we're celebrating is the birth of our Lord and Savior. And, it is a sad time in America when you can't have a nativity scene on the courthouse square in your hometown.
Yeah.
And,
really
that's just to me, it's just one of those things that always stings with me. But the bright news is, Paul, it really allows, us as citizens to get together and to do goodwill in our communities. Mm-hmm. And not just buying presents for our friends and family, but looking out for people in our community.
Absolutely.
I mean, as a conservative, I fundamentally believe charity begins with the citizens and not with the government. And I think Christmas is a great time to remind people of that.
Yeah, let's talk about that because our Wednesday weekly video that Joe and I did this time, Joe, our board operator here, we did it on social justice from the leftist standpoint, and then Christmas charity from just a biblical ethics standpoint. So it's a good video. I'd encourage people to subscribe and become a member. But specifically, it was on this idea that a lot of people on the left seem to think that government programs that are supposed to help people qualify as charity. And I made the point that not really, because charity is not forced. It's voluntary, where the person sees you actually giving them something. They see the sacrifice, or they see the love, or the goodwill, and a lot of times those government programs, a lot of times they're not effective because it's not a charitable act in terms of an individual doing something.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, this is government in a distant land, far removed from you. With money that you have no idea where you don't know where it's coming from. It's just, to me, government, its role is not charity. That is the role of society and individuals and the church. Government has no function, and this is my opinion, but the government has no function when it comes to charity. That is our responsibility for each other. And, a big part of the reason of why I'm a conservative is that too much government desensitizes us to the needs of the people around us.
Yeah.
And I have found myself kind of falling into this trap of, well, oh my gosh, I pay all these taxes, and why do I got to, there's a program for this, there's a government program for that, and it's easy for me to kind of rationalize why I don't need to personally get involved. And, I have to kind of call myself out on that from time to time, because the reason I need to get involved is because it's my responsibility as a citizen of my, of North Central Arkansas, of the state of Arkansas, of this country, to get involved.
Yeah.
And not just to be sitting around and waiting, or assuming that, there's this government program or there's this. To me, if you want lower taxes, if you want less government, it must be predicated by being involved in your communities, and it's got to start at your front doorstep and work its way out.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you actually attempted to do that. You had a bill that Governor Asa Hutchinson actually vetoed that would have enabled VFWs to kind of bypass a rule that was being enforced, or other organizations like VFW,
sure.
To be able to donate to charity and things like that. Remind us about what that was about.
Okay, well, and first of all, I've had, conversations with the governor since then about this. I believe that we're going to be able to, I'm going to run another bill, hopefully when we go to our next general session, and, to be able to address this. So I never felt the governor had any, vendettas against the VFWs or anything, and I think that we've been able to kind of clear the air and get on the same page. But, the issue is that you have VFWs, Elks Clubs, American Legions, and, they have these gaming machines on their premises, which they've had for decades, that, these are private clubs where members go in there and they'll put $5 in a machine, and they might win $10, and they just kind of recycle it back in. And anyway, the organizations pay sales tax on the proceeds. They have to pay a permit fee for a sticker to go on these machines, so the state's making money off of it. But these organizations weren't using that money to fund their operations. They were using it to fund their charitable giving at the local level.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's very in line with conservatism and the Republican platform of government doesn't need to be standing in the way of that. Government needs to be getting out of the way of that, because these folks aren't hurting nobody. As a matter of fact, they're doing a lot of good. And I know my Elks Club here in Mountain Home, 2 years ago, they raised almost $40,000 for local charity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's money
awesome.
That's money that stayed in Baxter County that went to folks in true need. And, these VFW posts, they were working out to help not just fellow veterans, but needy children, needy families. I mean, these are people that are really trying to be proactive and to do for their community and help their people in their community. And I think that government, really needs to kind of get out of the way and let these people, continue to do what they've been doing for literally, Paul, decades with no problem.
Yeah.
And I'm confident that we're going to be able to address that. I'm not giving up on it. People in Little Rock know I'm not going to give up on it. And so I feel confident that, the next go-around, we're going to get it done.
Good.
You always learn a few things in defeat, Paul. And so, I kind of came up a little bit short this year on that bill, but I learned a few things in the process. And so I plan on applying that experience and putting it to good use the next go-around.
Yeah.
Kind of like you do with the Christmas lights.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Got to replace that fuse and try again. We're talking with Senator Scott Flippo. He is a senator from North Central Arkansas. It is Senate District 17. And go ahead.
Well, I want to interject here. So all the news of the day, Senator Tom Cotton going to the CIA. Tell me that you've heard about this.
I did hear about it. I was covering a breaking story, and I didn't get to mention it the first hour. But, yeah, the New York Times is reporting, and this is really kind of shaking up Arkansas. It's a secondary story today, or it was on my show, that White House plans that Tillerson's going to be out eventually. They're going to move current CIA Director Pompeo into the Secretary of State position, and they're saying Tom Cotton go to the CIA. And so a lot of people now speculating, okay, well, what does that mean for Arkansas? Do we have a special election? Does the governor appoint somebody? And so what have you heard, Scott?
So, first of all, I've not had any conversations with the governor or Senator Cotton or, anything to the such. So anything I have is speculation. From what I've heard, I think what I'm hearing is it's likely that there would be a special election if that was indeed to take place. And I'm hoping you and your listeners will not hold my feet to the fire on that. But that's been what I've been hearing, is that if that was to happen, that it would be a special election. And, of course, I would expect there'd be any number of, interested, folks that would be interested in pursuing that seat.
Yeah.
And so I think that could actually, change several dynamics here at the state level in the Republican Party. And my own personal preference would, I would like to see a special election.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
I think Senator Cotton's got 3 years left on his term. You know, and I really believe, I think a special elections are always what's best for a republic and a democracy. So I think that's right in line, and I would love to see that happen in this situation, and I'm hopeful that it will. But again, I have not had or heard anything directly out of the governor's office or how he plans on approaching this. So I want to be very clear about that.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, this is all speculation. I've been doing some research, and I do think a special election would be possible if Tom Cotton were to go to the CIA. But on some of my resources, though, they do say that Arkansas is the governor does appoint, or at least can.
Correct.
In the following 36 states, the governor makes an appointment to fill the U.S. Senate vacancy, and the appointee serves until the next regularly scheduled statewide general election. Arkansas is on that list, but like you said, you know, Scott, I think a special election would be best there, considering there's so much time to, you know, for Cotton's term isn't up for a while.
Sure. And so, you know, we will see. You know, and at this point, you see a lot of things in the news that aren't always inherently true, or there's just shades of truth to it. But I do fully believe that this is something that's being discussed in D.C. right now and being discussed seriously. I've always heard, you know, for a while now, you know, rumors about Senator Cotton going to, the Pentagon Defense Secretary or the CIA.
Yeah.
And I kind of never thought that he would want to, you know, that he would step down from his Senate seat to do that. I wouldn't say that I'm close personal friends with Senator Cotton. Of course, I do know him, and we've had several conversations over the years. But I trust his judgment. Yeah. And I think that Senator Cotton's a true public servant, and he will do what he thinks is the best interest of this country. And if that means going to the CIA and he feels like he can make an impact there, I would expect that he would do so. If he feels that, you know, he can best serve in the Senate, I would expect that he would stay there.
Yeah.
But I think Senator Cotton's been a great voice for Arkansas, a great voice at the national level. So I personally would hate to see him go, but certainly would respect that this guy, he's up there to serve not just our state, but serve our country. And so I have every bit of confidence that he's going to make the right decision there.
Yeah,
and I have confidence in the people of Arkansas that they will find a fine person to, you know, if he does indeed move on to the CIA, that, you know, if it goes to a special election, that the citizens, you know, will replace him with just an equally good a person.
Well,
and who knows who that's going to be?
You're right, and the Cotton's office, Senator Cotton's office, has responded to this report from the New York Times saying that you know, he's only interested in serving Arkansans in the state of Arkansas. The White House issues a statement that's kind of it's a denial, but not really a denial. You have Bob Corker over in Tennessee. He's come out now and he has said that Tillerson will not be forced out. It's like, well, okay, well, you know, pretty sure we're talking about the President of the United States decision here.
Yeah.
So it's all
what happened
fascinating.
To the President, the President's cabinet? You know, we've all heard this saying: you serve at the pleasure of the President.
Mm-hmm.
Not at the pleasure of the senator from Tennessee or wherever. You serve at the pleasure of the president, and the president is ultimately the one that makes those decisions, you know, regarding his cabinet. So for Senator Corker or anybody else to make any comments about, you know, what President Trump is going to do with regards to the Secretary of State Tillerson or with Senator Cotton going to CIA, that's his decision to make.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think Senator Corker, you know. And again, don't know the man personally, but from where I'm sitting, seems to me like a little bit of grandstanding right there.
Yeah, and he's not even running for re-election. So,
exactly.
Senator Scott Flippo, I appreciate it. We're out of time. If I don't talk to you before Christmas, I just want you and your family to have a Merry Christmas, and I always appreciate having you on.
Paul, thank you very much. The same to you and your families and all your listeners. Merry Christmas to everybody, and thank you very much.
All righty. Be safe, folks. We're going to take a break. The Liberty Machine rolls on. We'll be back here in just a moment.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media.
Protecting your business means protecting your data. But is your business really prepared to handle the growing threat of things like cybercriminals and ransomware? At iTex, they're committed to deploying the best security solutions to protect your business and your bottom line. Security threats are constantly evolving. So are security needs. Be proactive now and equip your business with the best cybersecurity available with iTex. Call them today for a free consultation at 870-336-9778. That's 870-336-9778 or itexusa.com. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas. Do you need to advertise your business product or service, but not sure what the best choice is? Folks, allow me to introduce you to Talk Radio. You're listening to it right now. Talk radio is one of the most unique mediums in all of advertising because it actually works. It gets the information you want to the people you want to get it to. And by the way, those people are educated, well-informed decision makers of their household, and most of them have disposable income. If this is a target audience for your business, then you have to consider advertising on my show, The Paul Harrell Program. We have options for most any budget and can provide you with exciting opportunities to grow your business. We can put your message across the state, or we can help you locally. Call 870-275-9755 if you have any questions. That's 870-275-9755, or visit my website, paulharrell.com, and click on Advertise.
I want to thank Senator Scott Flippo for coming on the program. It's always a pleasure. Yeah, we got into it, the news. Joe, can you throw this tweet up here? One person that did not like the fact that Tom Cotton may be going to the CIA is Democrat State Representative from Fayetteville, Greg Leding. This is what he said. Look at this. He said this. He's focused on serving his ambitions, and that's about it. And he says, number one, in 2012, he moved back to Arkansas to run for U.S. House. He began polling the U.S. Senate race about a month into his first House term, announced for Senate 7 months later, might not even serve a full term. So that's Democrat State Representative Greg Leding on Tom Cotton potentially going to the CIA. So this is what I said. Click out of this, Joe, and get to my retweet, because I retweeted this, and I said, careful, Greg Leding. He's about to be the director of the CIA. And LOL, smiley face. I'm joking, but isn't that funny? It's like, whoa. How are you going to criticize Tom Cotton? The man may very well be the next CIA director. Pretty sure, just as a disclaimer, if I ever criticize Tom Cotton again, I'm not talking about this Tom Cotton. I'm talking about somebody else.
Well, let's look back in time here a little bit. Who in the world would run for a higher office while already in an office, the spot of another office in this country? Not even on state level. This is up there. Who did that?
Well, I don't understand.
President Obama did that.
Oh, going from Senate to
Yeah,
president?
because he wasn't even done with his full Senate term before he started running.
Yeah, he had to resign. That's a good point. Barack Obama resigned after he got elected president, and then Governor Rod Blagojevich of Illinois went to prison for selling the Senate seat appointment to the highest bidder. That was an FBI investigation. Note to Arkansas officials, don't do that. If Tom Cotton gets the CIA position, don't try to sell the appointment to the highest bidder. Don't do that. That would be illegal. Rob Blagojevich. That was a fun name to learn how to pronounce. Back in just a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
It only came about because of political expediency and loyalty to the governor. And it's clear, when now you have instructors and all this extra power to the Arkansas State Police, and people are saying, they've completely undone everything. Charlie Collins did not set out to create a disaster, I don't believe, and I think that's what this bill is becoming. If you talk to these instructors, if you talk, you're an instructor, if you talk to other people, all Charlie Collins wanted to do was allow professors to carry if you had a concealed handgun license. That's all he wanted to do. And then instead of putting Republicans on the spot like Asa and forcing them to veto it if they didn't like it, no, instead we don't want to make anybody look bad in public. And it's a mess. It's an absolute mess, Bob.
How is it that a Republican governor would not actually support the right to bear arms is what I want to know.
It's a great question. I mean, Gary Epperson, our friend on the Facebook live feed right now, he just wrote that Charlie Reese from 1937 to 2013, that's his lifespan. He wrote this, quote, gun control by definition affects only honest people. When a politician tells you he wants to forbid you from owning a firearm or force you to get a license, he is telling you he doesn't trust you. That's an insult. He went on, gun control is not about guns or crime. It is about an elite that fears and despises the common people. I agree with that.
I do too, because, as long as you have the right to bear arms, you have a limit to the amount of crap that they can put on you. At some point in time, you will say enough is enough, and you will rise up and you will take arms. And that is history. That is historical. The Founding Fathers knew that. They had just beat off England doing exactly the same thing. I worked at a nuclear plant for 34 years and I retired, and once a year we had to go to a class. And all that class was about was the definition of shall and shall not. We actually learned that if you did something that said shall not, you were looking at possible prison time and big fines. If you didn't do something that said shall, same issue. We went to a class once a year, and every nuclear person that had access to a job order to repair stuff had to go to that class. I sorely wish that our politicians would attend that same class, because to me, shall not be infringed means nothing less, nothing more. It means shall not be infringed at all. To me, you paying a nominal fee of $300 for this enhanced license, coming to my class paying $200, is that not an infringement?
I certainly think it is.
What about being fingerprinted like a common criminal in case you do something wrong?
Mm-hmm. In order to get it, yeah.
What about passing a background check that basically says you are guilty of something until we prove you innocent?
It's pretty scary stuff. I mean, when you look at the actual ideology behind it, the motivation behind it, it's not far off from, the allegations that the NSA collects everything we do online, and in case we do something wrong in the future, they need it in case we do something wrong in the future to look back at it. So
that is all about globalism.
Yeah.
If you look at the picture, they don't want anybody being armed for reasons that we already stated. You've got a limit to the amount of crap that they can put on you.
Bob, I appreciate it, sir. It's great to meet you. It's a great conversation. I would love for you to keep us posted on what else comes down the pike with the enhanced carry. Specifically, I'm interested in, you are a licensed instructor, so I just want to know kind of the feeling on the ground. I'll give you the last word. What's the summary right now on this enhanced carry bill among concealed handgun carry instructors?
I haven't talked to one single instructor that thought it was a good idea.
There we go. That's all we need to know. All right, keep us posted. And we're back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. 870-275-9799. A lot of text messages coming in that we have over the course of the show, specifically when we had that first hour of just breaking news about how the humongous Doug Thompson story, the conflict of interest. If you didn't hear the first hour, you need to. Very explosive stuff. The Bureau of Legislative Research is using an attorney to handle FBI requests under investigation, and this same attorney also represents a healthcare entity that's under investigation from receiving general improvement funds. And it's absolutely unbelievable that this is happening, and they're trying to cover up corruption as best they can, trying to manage it. Did anybody see this tweet of Asa Hutchinson? Asa Hutchinson now has this Twitter handle, Asa for Arkansas. It's at Asa for FORAR, and it is, and he's also got this presence on Facebook now. You can tell he's certainly kicked into campaign mode. He's nervous about Jan Morgan and being primaried and things like that. This Twitter account tweeted, "Retweet if you agree. We must continue to lower the income tax rate to a competitive rate so hardworking Arkansans keep more of their hard-earned money." I'll get to that in a second. But the campaign thought this was a good video. It's a silent movie. There is no sound to it. Scroll down, Joe. It's just a GIF. Is it a GIF or a GIF? It's graphic, so it's GIF because it stands for graphic. So it's a GIF. Yeah. There's a phonetics thing. Okay. So they're rolling this GIF of Asa for Arkansas, and I think it's from an old campaign commercial. It's a 7-second, or maybe it's a Vine, and this is look at this. You see how weird this looks? It's just over and over again of Asa Hutchinson shaking this constituent's hand, looking him right in the eye, real intense. I feel like you could have a lot of fun with this GIF. You could I don't know. You could tag it with something. You could make a pretty funny meme out of that.
Oh, yeah, you could. It's super funny. But the GIF thing, real quick.
Oh, okay.
It's a little off topic. You wouldn't pronounce gift, gift.
Right.
The same three letters, just drop the T on the end. The T doesn't modify the sound of the G.
Right.
So it's GIF, not GIF.
Right.
It's phonetics. Come on.
No, I understand.
Well, no.
I just now always mispronounce it.
Well, here's the thing. Most people pronounce it GIF that I'm aware of. But the guy who created the GIF calls it GIF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't understand it.
The guy who created it does call it GIF?
Yeah.
Well, then why isn't it called GIF?
Because phonetically it's GIF.
Favorite peanut butter.
Well, GIF is my favorite peanut butter as well, but phonetically it's GIF.
Peter Pan is pretty good too, though. No high fructose corn syrup. It looks like Asa Hutchinson in this GIF is staring into this guy's soul in slow motion. Look at this. Look at this. This is just ridiculous. By the way, did you just get that text message from our mutual friend? We just got a text message from a mutual friend of ours in a group text, me and Joe both. It says, "Get off your high horse, Joe." So, anyway, there you go. Quit telling us about phonetics. All right, now scroll up. I want to analyze what's actually in the text of this tweet. Aside from this is a terrible. I mean, the campaign also put out a photo of Asa Hutchinson standing next to a holographic image of Al Capone last month, and we had a ton of fun with that. I mean, who is doing these things? They also put out that tweet that had all those retweets from Saudi Arabian bots. Uber Saudi Arabia 462 had 92 retweets, and most of them were from bots that were from Saudi Arabia. I don't know. We'll hear in a minute. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, check the retweets on this. What do the retweets say? There's 14 retweets. Who's been retweeting this? Okay, these look like actual human beings that are retweeting this. So they must have stopped whatever service they were using. Hang on, what is that? Hang on. Who is Warbleplot? Warbleplot retweeted this. I don't know. Campaign. Okay, yeah. Anyway, I think most of them are real people this time, but I mean, we reported on it, and I haven't seen it happen since. All those really strange retweets. But anyway, this is what it said. Retweet if you agree. We must continue to lower the income tax rate to a competitive rate so hardworking Arkansans keep more of their hard-earned money. This is an effort to appear conservative. This is how Asa ran the first time. And I think the people of Arkansas have seen the results, that Asa says this, but he doesn't really mean it. Now, he could come and say, well, he has lowered the income tax rate, so he's being truthful. We need to continue to lower it. He lowered it from 7% to 6.9%, which is minuscule, and nobody really has felt any of the benefits from it. But, you know, he's acting like he's going to actually really reform the tax code. And he hasn't. This guy has had 2 full legislative sessions and 2 full fiscal sessions, and he has not, or he'll have 2 full fiscal sessions this time next year. He'll have the 4th session under his belt. My point is, he hasn't moved fast enough here. He's had a lot of opportunity, and instead, what Asa has done is, because he inherited a state that's on a path of a fiscal train wreck, and instead of correcting that problem with welfare programs and ending them the way he should have, he wants to continue and be able to say he's cut taxes in a minuscule way, but he doesn't want to have to do the hard thing and say we don't need to be paying for people's health care who are able to work adults and they're choosing not to work. He doesn't want to say that. So he's squandered opportunity for massive reform because we continue to spend. He increased spending $133 million his first year, $140 his second year, $170 his third year. Jan Morgan came out with these amazing statistics that when the Republicans took over after BB, spending on state agencies every year was $16 billion, and now it's $20 billion. Think about that, $16 billion to $20 billion. And he wants to brag that he cut taxes $150 million. $150 million versus growing government, almost $500 million in spending, and growing the state agencies, that amount of money. That's a lot of money. Those numbers are scary to establishment Republicans. They really, truly are. Anyway, I am starting to wonder what the campaign is doing, though. Why would you put out a tweet like that? I mean, I know you're putting it. I know you're putting the tweet out there to make it look like you're conservative. I got that. That they're going to do that this entire campaign. But who thought it was a good idea to put that video out there of Asa creepily shaking that guy's hand over and over again? Just, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? And it does get worse the more you look at it. It's weird. Who thinks that's a good idea? I mean, whoever put that out there doesn't know what they're doing. That doesn't make Asa look good. I'm not the only guy that thinks that, by the way. There was a liberal on Twitter that was like, this is really weird. The guy, he's been a Twitter of the day. He hashtag, it's like @JewBilly, @JOO. It's like Billy Fleming is that guy's name. He's been a Twitter of the day. I've gotten in a Twitter spat with him before. But he tweeted, he was like, the standards in Arkansas are extremely low. He was one of the retweets, I think. He retweeted and commented, the standards here are really low. This is weird. Anyway, Conduit for Action has a new article over at conduitforaction.org. Check this out. Arkansas's tax and spend fantasy world. This is good stuff. Reality versus fantasy. And there's a nice little clip art here of a tax and spend unicorn. The reality is Arkansas taxes its people too much and spends too much. Arkansas is a high-tax state. State spending is higher per capita than most states. The median income of Arkansas households is lower than in most states. These points shown later in the article. The fantasy world of Governor Asa Hutchinson and his allies is you can base your budget on spending all you have, and anytime you want more tax money, you can yell crisis and increase the tax burden on Arkansans, and this pattern can continue indefinitely. To be fair, Governor Hutchinson didn't create Arkansas's tax and spend atmosphere. It came from decades of Democrat control. Unfortunately, Governor Hutchinson prefers to continue where the Democrats left off with bigger government and more taxes. Governor Asa Hutchinson says we do not have a spending problem, we have a revenue problem. What? When you compare Arkansas spending to other states, Arkansas has a spending problem. Hutchinson got legislation passed to continue Obamacare Medicaid expansion. Despite enrollment in the program growing beyond all projections, the program primarily serves able-bodied working-age adults who don't work. This year, the governor grew government by getting legislation passed for his environment agency to monitor tires through every stage, from the new sale to final disposal. Governor Hutchinson got a tax increase passed earlier this year on new and used tires, soft drinks and soda, digital downloads, and unemployment benefits. But he is still pushing for two major tax increases. One is the internet sales tax on purchases from out-of-state sellers who have no presence in Arkansas. The other is an additional tax on gasoline and diesel fuel for road projects. The Tax Reform and Relief Legislative Task Force, created and led by the governor's nephew, Senator Jim Hendren, is looking not at how to reduce tax, but how to shift tax burdens among taxpayers. The task force's consultant has presented reasons to impose an internet sales tax, which the governor's nephew voted for, and discussing where more tax money can be collected by eliminating tax exemptions. At one meeting, the consultant was asked if there are any Arkansas taxes that can be raised because the rate is lower than neighboring states. Clearly, this is not reform or relief. Their fantasy world continues the path of bigger government and higher tax burdens while ignoring the reality that Arkansas is a high-tax state and a high-spending state, while Arkansas's residents have a lower median income as compared to other states. Again, to be fair, there have been some tax cuts under Governor Asa Hutchinson, but the tax cuts have been the same type of cuts the Democrats used while growing government. The Democrat plan was to always look at how much of new revenue collections they wanted for growing government and then take part of the remainder to use for a tax cut. In other words, a tax cut for show. Hutchinson also gave a tax break for military retirement pay by raising other taxes, which gave the state additional money to grow government. High tax rate. By the way, I was talking to somebody today, a politician today, and they were saying that they think that when the new numbers come in, it's actually going to be a wash, that the military retirement pay, the tax cut and then the tax increase. Conduit for Action has now said and broken the story that it's actually a $5.9 million increase in government spending, and that is the case, but there's people who are really worried about this. They're now trying to put out the rumor to other legislators, I think, who are upset that they voted for a net tax increase, that, well, when the new numbers come in from the BLR, it'll be different. And the fact is they're getting more money because they're putting that money in a Medicaid trust fund. They're putting that extra money in the Medicaid trust fund, and some people are even claiming that because they're putting the extra revenue that they got from us in what was supposed to be a revenue-neutral bill, because they're putting it in the Medicaid trust fund, it's not a tax increase. Because they're using the money, it's okay. It's loony. It just doesn't make any sense. So Arkansas ranked as a high-tax state in 2018 State Business Tax Climate Index by the Tax Foundation. 38 states ranked better than Arkansas, and only 11 states ranked worse. The tax rates in 5 of the 6 surrounding states were better than the tax rates in Arkansas. The tax burden per person in Arkansas is high when compared to other states. The Tax Foundation says Arkansas is the 17th highest state in the nation. Taxpayers in all 6 surrounding states pay less per person. The report is based on the 2014 fiscal year and appears in Facts and Figures 2017. How does your state compare? Below is Arkansas's high tax compared to the surrounding states. You just see that. Arkansas, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Texas, Missouri, and Tennessee. Arkansas per capita coming in at $6,000 per person. Mississippi, $5,800. Oklahoma, $5,500. Louisiana, $5,400. Texas, $4,500. Missouri, $4,300. And Tennessee, $4,000 per person. Unbelievable that we don't want to fix these numbers. And you can. They have the legislative power to make law, and they haven't done it. Arkansas did just as poorly when the Tax Foundation looked at the state and local tax burden per capita. That's not very good. Arkansas coming in at $3,500 per person. Tennessee, for example, $2,800. High tax spending per capita. Arkansas has the 13th highest spending in the nation. When you look at only expenditures of state dollars, Arkansas still has the 13th highest spending per person in the nation. According to the Census Bureau, only West Virginia and Mississippi have a lower median household income than Arkansas. In short, we can't afford to stay on the same path. The picture is clear and has been clear for a very long time. Arkansas does have a spending problem. Arkansas's balanced budget is really a spend everything you have budget. Then, when a need arises, instead of prioritizing spending to keep from raising taxes, the politicians claim they are forced to raise taxes. Arkansas's tax burden handicaps the state and makes Arkansas unattractive for businesses. Arkansas then resorts to incentives for businesses supported by bonds. Arkansas taxpayers then have to pay off those bonds, and that too keeps our tax burden high. High taxes also keep many people from considering moving to our beautiful state. We can't afford politicians who pretend to be for the people by bragging on minor tax relief. That goes perfectly with that weird tweet that Asa just put out, while at the same time raising the overall tax burden and growing government far beyond what we can afford.
I finally figured out why that video is so creepy.
Yeah, why? Because
it reminds me of a scene from a movie. Yes. Star Wars, whenever the it just reminds me of...
Which one is that?
Well, it's just in general, whenever Palpatine gets really power hungry, he's like, yes, the power. It's actually episode 6, probably, most likely. Feel the power of the dark
I don't know.
side.
I just think it looks... just to put that out there over and over again, he literally looks like he's just staring right through somebody.
Yeah, he's grabbing his hand, feel the power of the dark side.
Maybe. I think you're stretching just a tad. But, hey. I know I'm not quite to the point you are, Joe. I'm not comparing Asa to Emperor Palpatine, okay?
But should we?
Who knows? Maybe you can put that in there. You can put that in. Maybe we do a segment where we do a series of persuasion speeches where we try to convince the people. I think
that could be next week's video or Wednesday weekly video where we take clips from Star Wars of Palpatine saying things and try to find where Asa says very similar things.
Yeah. I don't know.
It may be a 2-minute video, but
I don't think Asa's ever said, "Good, let the hate flow through you." I think it's going to be hard. All right, Arkansas, listen to this. Elections and return to reality. This is the end of the article. It's good. Arkansas experienced a Republican revolution, and many new Republican office holders went to Little Rock ready to rein in big government. But when they got to Little Rock, they were thwarted by both Democrats and establishment Republican leaders who like the tax and spend environment. Returning to Democrat control is not an option. They invented tax and spend. Keeping Republicans who want to spend like Democrats is also not an option. If Arkansas is to get out of its mess of high taxes and high state spending, there are 2 steps that are a must. Number 1, Replace establishment Republicans in the Republican primary with Republican candidates who will fight to rein in state government. And number 2, replace Democrats in the general election with fiscally conservative Republican candidates. Anything less means more of the same. It's a new article out at conduitforaction.org. We're going to take a break. Back in just a moment.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media.
Do you need conservative legislation killed?
Or do you need policies enacted that ensure government growth?
Then you need to get
Nephewed. Hi, I'm nephew number 1 of uncle, nephew, and nephew, attorneys at law. I'm not a lawyer, but I am a senator.
And I'm nephew number 2, and I am a lawyer and also a senator.
Are you the victim of a recent accident in which the voters in your community mistakenly elected a limited government conservative who is now actually implementing the ideas he or she campaigned on?
That's right, nephew number 1. Don't be a victim of democratic elections any longer. At Uncle, Nephew, and Nephew, we are committed to killing limited government legislation and promoting bills that increase the size of government by using any tool at our disposal.
Because sometimes the truth of the matter is, principles get in the way of pragmatism.
Just listen to some of our great testimonials.
Ever since I've been using the nephews, all my special interests have been served. As long as you make sure your contract says lobbying services are prohibited, then the legal services of uncle, nephew, and nephew are legal. Trust me, put the nephews on them.
It came out of nowhere. I was blindsided last election cycle when my well-funded and paid-for politician lost to some grassroots limited government voters. But then I hired the nephews, and they killed all the conservative policies the voters wanted. I got nephewed.
I got nephewed too, and so can you.
Uncle, nephew, and nephew will accept compensation via campaign contributions.
Put the nephews on them.
PHP Parody. If you would like information about advertising or supporting the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media Group, call 870-275-9755. Join the fight against big government and advance the preservation of liberty by calling 870-275-9755. The Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being with us. So earlier this week, we told you about former State Representative Jay Martin, who said he wanted to run for Arkansas governor under a Democratic ticket. Now the reports are coming in. He has concluded he doesn't want to run. He wants to put his family first, and so he doesn't want to run. So former State Representative Jay Martin, who was elected to the House of Representatives in 2003, has said he will not seek the Democratic nomination for running for governor. Now, if you are an establishment Republican, you want the Democratic race for governor to be as uncompetitive as it possibly can be. You want there to be no Democrat primary. You want the Democrats to coalesce around one candidate to try to knock off Asa, and that's what your hope is. Because if there is a Democrat primary, and I think somebody probably talked to Jay Martin out of running, either a Republican or somebody in the Democrat Party, because if there is a Democrat primary and there's also a Republican primary with Jan Morgan challenging Asa, a Democrat primary means you won't have crossovers trying to vote for Asa to keep Jan Morgan from winning. If there is only a Democrat, if there's only one Democrat running and no Democrat primary, the Hutchinson campaign will beg and plead, because they're not real conservatives, for Democrats to come and vote for him in a Republican primary. I don't know why he decided not to run when he said he was running, or, really thinking about it. We do know there's some other unannounced Democrat who's thinking of running, but we don't know who it is. Anyway, I think a Democrat primary would be pretty nice. What about y'all? We'll see you tomorrow for Johnny Cash Friday. Merry Christmas.
CBS